So I'm very excited to make this video. This is something that I'm very passionate about, and that is set etiquette. In this video, we're gonna be going over aspects like crew responsibilities, equipment management, spatial awareness, and optics. Okay, so situation number one, when you are in an interview setting with a crew, if you are not the interviewer, you should not be talking at any point throughout this process. And that is a point that I make clear on my sets where I am taking the lead. And the reason for that doesn't come from ego or being mean. It comes from a place where I want to make sure that I can build that rapport with that person on set. And when they first sit down, the first couple things that I say are things like, hey, it's just me and you here. We're just having a conversation. All this fancy equipment and all these extra people behind me, they're not here. It's just us here. And starting an interview off in that setting allows that person to be comfortable on camera and sets yourself up for success in terms of the answers that you can get so that that person isn't nervous. So with that being said, once crew starts to talk during that, right after I said, no one behind me exists, don't worry about them. That's just a bad look on me. That's a bad look on the production. And it takes that person on camera out of the world that at least I'm trying to put them in of just a one-on-one conversation interaction. I was on a set recently where this did happen. There was an interviewer beside me. They were doing a great job with the person on camera. I was A cam, and my B cam, after halfway through the interview and after one of the answers, chimed up and said, well, what if we try it this way? And I could see the person on camera have that moment of, oh wait, there's people here, there's cameras, there's lights. And just because my B cam talked to the person on set, we took that person on camera out of the world that the interviewer was doing such a good job at. Needless to say, after that shoot, that B camera person had a talking to. So if there's anything to learn here, do not be the B camera person that talks over your interviewer. Okay, so for situation number two, I want to talk about filming products and how to navigate around the product with our gear and people. So this is going to sound obvious, but I always make sure that when we're moving equipment around a product or a person, we always take the widest and safest route possible. Now, again, it's obvious, but let me bring it back to more of a real world example of why I say this. I do a lot of stuff with cars and in the automotive space. And there's a lot of times where we deal with prototype cars, meaning that it's the only car that's made in Canada or the world or North America, whatever it may be. Clearly the stakes are a lot higher in that regard, which is why I always make sure we are taking that widest route. Now, in situations where you don't have that much space to work with and that you do have to move maybe a piece of equipment from point A to point B and it's still gonna be very close to that product, or in my case, a car, I always put myself in between the car and the equipment so that I kind of have that leverage to protect it in case something weird happens. So for example, we're moving a C-stand and a light from point A to point B, but it's really close to the car. Instead of it being car, light, person, so the person's holding the light and it's kind of against the car, you want to have car, person holding the light this way and then moving it where it needs to go away from the vehicle. So now if I'm going to try and move this, I'm going to put myself in between the car and the light to be safe. And now I'm moving this away, even lowering it so that it's not so top heavy. And now we are moving away from the car with my body in between. Right? It's always just taking that extra second to really think about the spatial awareness of where you are and how you can be the safest on set when moving things around. Whether the stakes are as high as filming a prototype car, or maybe it is just an interview setup where we're trying to move a light from point A to B, but there's still a person in the chair on set and it's just a last second move. Always just try and think about a 360-degree view around you and how you can properly act in the safest manner. In addition to all this, once the set is made, the interviewer or product is in place, all the gear is in place, all the cameras are in place. What I do is make sure that everything is locked down as safe as it can be. Meaning sandbags, tape, whatever else that just makes sense to make sure that the equipment is as safe as possible. Once that is done, I will allocate one route on set from going behind the scenes to in front of the scenes, behind the camera to in front of the camera. That allows us to be extra safe, obviously, and not have situations where somebody needs to rush in on set like a last minute slate or something, where they're just trying to take the quickest route on set, but then trip over a cord that trips over a light onto the car, onto a person. We cannot have that. Whenever you always want to allocate the safest route on set to be the only route on set. To summarize all of that, I think that kind of helps with the optics of it all. It helps with showing that you really care about what you do, all the way down to the small things of being safe on set and really just caring about the work that you do and the product or people that are in front of the camera.